All right, folks. So happy Mental Health Month to all the fellas out there. I hope you are taking this month to continue to start, um, continue to maintain, or continue to keep doing what you're doing for yourself. So um, continue to know that your feelings and thoughts matter. So today I thought I would take the time to discuss um, the root of suppression for many men and women because the concept started somewhere. Okay, and so these are my own personal thoughts, feelings, and analysis of societal norms that have been, in my opinion, embedded into us. It is the concept of gender norms, the concept of acceptance of our feelings, and the ability to choose for ourselves. So, hence today's topic is it started somewhere. So when I was little, I would remember that most of the toys that I received involved baby dolls, doll houses, dresses, and tea sets. So at the time, I had no brother that was close to my age. So I observed my boy cousins with video games, clothes, baseballs, basketballs, of course, and anything that involved being physical. So the unspoken concept was that girls were meant to nurture and take care of others, while boys were meant to be more physical, more active. And I can remember times when girls were comforted when they cried, and boys were told to be strong. Don't show too much emotion. And if you did, you were considered soft or girl-like. And the words masculine and feminine were floating around like pollen in the air. So masculine was assigned to men, and feminine was assigned to women. So the definition of masculine is strength, boldness, right, and assertiveness. The definition of feminine is soft, romantic, and sensitive. By definition alone, characteristics outline, um, who we are or who we have to be, but they can be interchangeable. So, why is it that one is assigned to one gender versus another? Can a male not be soft, romantic, and sensitive, right? Can a woman not be strong, bold, and assertive? Our society created a hierarchy between genders, and it made people feel that it was unpopular to live in our truths um, about who we are and how we want to be present um, and show up for ourselves. So if you were a female um, who was rough and dressed with baggy clothes, you were labeled a tomboy. If you were a male who cried and stayed to yourself and had no interest in sports, you were considered a quote unquote sissy, right? And that's an old school term, so don't judge me. The saying goes, sticks and stones may break our bones, but words could never hurt. But I beg to differ, right? Labels, words, categories that only um, allow you to be one part of yourself suppresses your ability to explore the total person, a person more complex. Personality has multiple pieces, and the mind is limitless. You can't be confined to just one reality. During my studies at Fisk and Howard University, shout out to my Bulldogs and my Bisons, um, I learned that the mind is in constant battle due to internal and external struggles. So, in social work, many theories and philosophies are present because of patterns, right? The theory that most have been taught, and that, in my opinion, is the most relevant, is Erickson's stages of development. So, Erickson stated that at each phase of our lives, the mind has a conflict in which it must solve. So, from birth to 1 year of age, the psychological conflict is trust versus mistrust. Um, when we are born without words, we only have emotions. And it is stated that during this phase, we are learning predictability and hope, and we've determined if our caregivers are trustworthy of managing our needs. So, for example, if a baby cries and a caregiver responds, then they know that they can trust someone else, right? But if that same baby cries and no one comes to comfort them, then they learn how to be reliant on self, and feel that they cannot trust others. So, from the age of 1 to 3, the psychological conflict is autonomy versus shame. And most of you find this stage most frustrating, especially if you're a parent, because this is that no phase, right? That I want to do it phase, or mine phase. We are learning to project our will into our own lives. And if supported during this phase, the child learns independence and gains a sense of self. If not supported, they begin to doubt who they are, how they can be, and become reliant on others for reassurance from others instead of trusting their own guts, right? Trusting their own instinct. So, from the ages of 3 to 6 years of age, the psychological conflict is initiative versus guilt. And this is the phase in which we learn who we are through play and interactions with our friends, right? So we strive for acceptance and leadership, or we dwell in integrating into who our friends want us to be. So this is the time in which we learn our purpose and our role in in others' lives. So if handled successfully, we are able to be unapologetically us and trust ourselves. If handled unsuccessfully, we feel guilty for putting ourselves above others. We begin to shrink ourselves to be accepted by the masses. And so, from the ages of 6 to 12 years of age, the psychological conflict is industry versus inferiority. So, this is the phase where kids are always saying, look what I can do. I did it all by myself. Most need that reassurance that they are capable of managing something on their own, that they are competent and can achieve, right? If done successfully, self esteem is built here, right? The child will have a high sense of self and know that they are capable. Um, if done unsuccessfully, the child suppresses. their ability because they are unsure. Um, they feel that they can't do much on their own, and they question their decision making ability. So, from the ages of 12 to 18 years of age, the psychological conflict is identity versus role confusion, the good old teen phase. Okay. So in this phase, teens are exploring their limits. They're questioning who they are outside of their family, what they want to do with their lives, and they want the ability to make decisions about their lives and life path. So this is where parents get a run for their money. I am that parent. Um, we want to maintain control because we don't want them to make mistakes we made, but they must be able to make mistakes because that helps them to learn, right? It helps them to navigate life circumstances on their own. If they need you, they will ask. But if mistakes are what, you know, mistakes are what builds character. And so it is important to have that because it also helps to build resilience, right? Then we move along from that phase until the ages of 18 to 40. And the psychological conflict is intimacy versus isolation. So let's just call this the dating phase, right? In all aspects, though. So you are learning who you can relate to, learning which friendships work best for your growth, learning about your relationships with yourself, and whether you will keep certain people near or at a distance. This is where you are learning if you prefer social settings versus quiet moments, where you explore every inch of who you are as an adult and assert every part of your emotions. So, this is where you find out if she or he is worth giving that boo status as well. And this is where you learn how to determine the type of love you want from a partner. So, if done successfully, you will grow a deep admiration for hope of love and continue to explore finding it despite the trials and tribulations. If not done successfully, you may be, let's say, emotionally unavailable, um, cling more toward isolation and self satisfaction. Um, and then you move along to the ages of 40 to 65. Um, and the psychological conflict is generativity versus stagnation. So, this is probably the most complex, in my opinion. Here we explore our purpose, right? Our mark in the world, how we want to make an impact or continue or contribute to help others. It's complex because not everything deserves you. It can also get complicated because you will feel like your efforts are unappreciated. But you know in your heart of hearts, you are doing it out of love. This phase is where I continue to learn what parts of me I want to share with the world and what parts I want to hold near and dear to my chest. So notice as well that the ages coincide with our work paths and then our retirement age. Um, okay, so last but not least, between the ages of 65 and up, the psychological conflict is ego integrity versus despair. And so this is the phase where your elders will say, I've lived a good life. I've learned some hard lessons, and I am still open to learning. It's the phase in which they say, I successfully navigated life, or there is so much more I want to accomplish. This phase is completed successfully and generally leads to life satisfaction. On the other hand, if not completed successfully, it leads to despair. So I wasn't you may say, I wasn't enough, or I didn't do enough, or I should have, or could have, and I have nothing to show for a life, the life that I have lived. So I know that's a lot, right? And some of you are probably saying, I get it, I don't get it. You're probably also saying, I agree with some, but not with others. That can also, be true at the same time. The joy about being human is nothing is black and white. There are lots of gray areas. Often, life circumstances can throw off one internal conflict versus another. And so we develop insecurities because we are unsure, right? We develop self doubt because we weren't validated, or we become people pleasers because we had no sense of self. Um, we became perfectionists because we were told not to make mistakes, or when we did, we were made to feel guilty. Um, and so, we were told children should be seen and not heard, like our feelings did not matter. We were told to hush, right? Like we didn't have an opinion. And all these things were taught to us at some point in our lives. And there are things that may seem small, but are detrimental to our growth, and may make us feel stuck at one phase of our lives versus others, right? And we may feel we're progressing, but actually we are stuck. So, um, physical age and mental age are two different concepts, right? A person can progress in age, but not progress in mindset. Think about it. In addition, who defines success? Your idea of success can vary from mine. That is the uniqueness of being you. It's just that society will put constraints on your thoughts, your feelings, and behaviors. So, for generation after generation, it is the same thing because we teach what we were taught, right? But who will be bold enough to be that generational curse breaker? Who will be bold enough to say, enough is enough? And I choose to do it this way, right? So that's the challenge. Find your way and stick to it. You have the right to break free and think freely. And can I add, without judgment? Okay. So now you see why I say everything starts from somewhere, right? Everyone should be allowed to explore without constraints. Your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are valid, and should not be suppressed. Everyone moves at their own pace, right? Discovers their truth at their at different phases, and one does not trump another, right? Everyone has sugar honey iced tea. One does not smell better than the other. It is still sugar honey iced tea. So if no one has told you, there is freedom in learning who you are, and I am giving you permission to do so. So thank you all for coming out to my quote unquote TED Talk today. I also wanted to share that my sister and I will be coming together to host a women's empowerment event entitled Relax, Relate, Release. Um, it is a wine crafting class that also explores the effects of secondary addiction. We are both survivors of our mother's addiction and coped in very different ways. So we want to share our story of resilience with you and hope that you will come and share your own story, right? Everybody has something to add. There will be some dope Black owned, woman owned vendors presence for you to dibble and dab in. The event will be held on August the 16th, 2025, from 1 to 5 p.m. It will be held at the Powerhouse Community Center, located at 316 South Carolina Street. So tickets are $65 and include your meal, wine, crafting materials, and a good time. Okay. So this is an opportunity for you to come out and network with others, that are like-minded. Tickets can be purchased through my website at www.resilientcounseling.biz or via Eventbrite. Okay, so I sure hope that you will be in the building. Y'all keep being resilient, okay? And these are my confessions. Until next time, Confessions family, y'all have a good one.